I'm Griff Robodanger, and in this video, I'm going to take a classic horror movie, Halloween, and let a computer rewrite the whole story. I'm calling this
Scary Stories.
So I've played around with AI-generated voices and AI-generated images. So now it's time for AI-generated text. For this task, I'll be using InferKit, a text generation tool that takes text you provide and generates what it thinks comes next, using a state-of-the-art neural network. I'm going to enter real scenes from the movie's story into the website and let the AI text generation tool finish those scenes. The rules I've made for myself are as follows. If the AI kills a character, I have to adjust the story to fit. But if the AI randomly brings that character back to life, I can keep them in the story. If the AI provides me with something I deem unusable for some reason, I'll be allowed to rephrase my entry and let the AI try again. I'm also going to use the Crayon image generator, formerly known as DALL-E Mini, to illustrate the AI-generated portions of the story, to the best of its ability. And so, the story begins. Our story begins in 1963. It's Halloween night. A young boy named Michael wanders through his house, wearing a clown costume. He grabs a knife and makes his way to his sister's bedroom. He finds his sister and stabs her. His father comes home and finds his wife lying on the ground. The father runs into the bedroom and grabs his son, who kills him and then attacks him. Like, in that order? The father runs for the front door and trips. Michael runs out the door and gets on his bike and leaves. The police come and take his mother and the kids to the hospital. The next day, Michael goes to school. He goes to see his teacher and Miss Belvedere. When he gets into the classroom, Miss Belvedere is asleep with her head on a table. Michael covers her with a pillow and slides the knife under her feet. Michael goes to the nurse's office, where the police are waiting for him for all the crimes he committed the night before. Michael is locked up in Smith's Grove Sanitarium, where he lives for the next 15 years. But in 1978, he escapes. Dr. Loomis and Marion Chambers arrive to escort Michael to a court hearing, but Michael attacks Marion and steals her car. Loomis manages to chase after her, with the pair narrowly avoiding traffic and being trapped on a bridge. It's looking like Loomis might lose the chase until a tractor-trailer jackknives, sending the trailer off the side of the bridge, directly into the path of Loomis's car. Okay, nonsense. Most people think the majority of the film is the best ending. They assume that when Loomis gets arrested for stealing Michael's car and framing him for the murders, he will spend the rest of his life in prison. But Marion quickly explains to the police that Michael Myers is the actual car thief and murderer. Meanwhile, Michael travels back to his hometown of Haddonfield. Upon arriving, he steals knives, ropes, and a creepy mask from the local hardware store. He sees a high school student named Lori and begins stalking her all day. Lori walks home from school with her friends. They notice Michael watching them from behind some hedges. Annie goes to confront Michael. Annie looks past the hedges, then turns to Lori and says, "Lori, dear, he wants to talk to you. He wants to take you out tonight." Annie walks away and Michael follows. Michael tries to follow Lori and Annie, but he's stopped by Peter, who recognizes him as the killer. Peter tells Michael to leave his town or he'll bring his family's murder back to his doorstep. What the hell does that even mean? Michael goes to the Blair mansion to see his mother, Sarah. He asks about the doll, Molly. Sarah tells Michael that the doll is all that is left of his family, and he can keep it with him forever. Sarah attempts to run away, but Michael catches her and smashes her head against a glass door. Michael smashes all the mirrors in the room and disappears. Dr. Loomis finally arrives in Haddonfield to search for Michael Myers. He meets with Sheriff Brackett to warn him about Michael. Dr. Loomis and Sheriff Brackett go to Michael's childhood home, which has been abandoned for years. Dr. Loomis tells the sheriff about his history with Michael, telling the sheriff that Michael is a child killer. The sheriff agrees to stay there, But as he's leaving, Dr. Loomis sees Michael. Dr. Loomis hides behind a car as Michael approaches and shoots at him. Michael shoots at Dr. Loomis with a Winchester, but it misses and hits the sheriff. Dr. Loomis then returns fire, killing Michael. While the sheriff recovers, Dr. Loomis gets into a car and drives away. Dr. Loomis and the sheriff then leave Haddonfield before it is revealed that Michael survived the gunshot. "I shot him one time," Dr. Loomis exclaims, turning the car around and heading back to Haddonfield. Meanwhile, Laurie is babysitting Tommy Doyle, while Annie babysits Lindsay Wallace across the street. Michael shows up and watches Annie through a window. Annie wants to be with her boyfriend, so she drops Lindsay off with Laurie at the Doyle house. As Annie is about to leave, she is attacked by Michael, who had been waiting for her in her back seat. Michael kills Annie by shoving a pillow down her throat and strangling her with a cord. Well, that's certainly unique. While the police investigate Annie's death, Michael frees Tommy from his crib and flees with him through the neighborhood. Heather and Tyler discover Tommy's motionless body in the living room and return home to find Michael and Tommy gone. Okay, none of that makes any sense. Michael leaves Tommy in a public restroom and hijacks a car from a man at a gas station. Michael takes Tommy with him to an abandoned house in the woods. Tommy's corpse is found in the bathroom a few days later. Oh my god. Okay, so I guess Tommy's dead for the rest of the story. Michael kidnaps Heather and forces her to drive to her house, but loses control, and they end up back at the Wallace house, where Michael kills Heather, gets out of the car, and goes inside the house. Soon after, Linda and her boyfriend, Bob, arrive at the Wallace house and find it empty. They fool around in the Wallace's bed. Bob goes downstairs to get a beer, where Michael pins him to the wall with a kitchen knife. Michael steals Bob's ghost costume and goes upstairs to surprise Linda. He attempts to kiss her while he is dressed as a ghost, but she draws a claw-footed bat and strips him naked. Wow. Michael and Linda make love in the tub. Okay. But Linda begins to choke on her own vomit while fending off a running sink faucet. As her lungs fill with blood, she grabs her throat and she turns white. Michael panics and leaves the bathroom. Meanwhile, Laurie and Lindsay have been over at the Doyle house trying to find Tommy, who has been missing for hours. Thinking Tommy may have wandered over to the Doyle house, Laurie attempts to call Linda, but Linda doesn't answer because she's dead in the bathtub. Laurie decides to walk over to the Wallace house to check on Linda. In the house, Laurie discovers the murdered bodies of her friends. Laurie flees to the hallway in terror, where Michael Myers suddenly appears and slashes her arm, causing her to fall over the stairway banister. As she falls, Laurie loses her shoe. She turns around and sees Michael standing at the top of the stairs. Laurie grabs the banister to stop her fall. However, she slips again. Michael's fatal attack to her head causes her to fall over the banister, where she collides with the doorstop and falls into a corner. Her friend Corey and Michael stand over her body. Laurie is unconscious when she regains consciousness. So I guess she's alive again? As Laurie begins to regain her consciousness and comes to terms with the fact that she has just come back from the dead, she sees Michael and her friend Corey and realizes Corey has betrayed her. Laurie grabs the nearby doorstop and smashes Corey over the head with it, knocking him out. Michael knocks the doorstop out of her hands and she runs. Laurie escapes the house while Michael Myers chases her. She manages to get back to the Doyle house where Lindsay is waiting. Laurie orders Lindsay to hide, while Laurie tries to telephone for help. Michael sneaks in through the window and attacks Laurie, but she incapacitates him by placing him in the old furnace before Lindsay can help her. Laurie calls to Lindsay and rushes to the phone, where she hears a telephone ringing in the living room. It is Michael's kayak bell, and she realizes that he is in the house. What the hell is a kayak bell? Lori grabs a knife and heads back to the house. When she gets to the living room, Lori finds Michael and they wrestle, and Lori manages to stab him in the leg with the knife, but the wound goes unnoticed. As Michael pulls the knife out of his leg, Lori tells Lindsay to go to a neighbor's house to call the police. As Lindsay leaves, Dr. Loomis sees her running from the house and goes to investigate. When he arrives, he finds Michael and Lori upstairs. Lori pulls off Michael's mask, momentarily distracting him as he tries to put it back on. Loomis pulls out his gun and fires, but the gun is empty. Michael pushes him back into the house, and Lori takes the knife. As Michael chases Lori downstairs, Dr. Loomis, who had been hiding behind a sheet, appears, grabs Michael's feet, and throws him onto a large furnace, which then lights on fire, incinerating him. Man, they really wanted to get Michael inside that furnace. And here are a few AI test creations I couldn't use in the story, but I thought were funny. After the baby scare, Annie and Lori are in the car again. Lori is hungry, so Annie feeds her some juice. He kills Annie, but Lindsay, understandably shaken, runs away. Halloween is back to being a weekday. Michael kills Annie by attacking him with a knife and takes off his cape. Merry Christmas, and let's be friends. A few moments later, the man tells Lori about a fire that has set several hundred people alight. He also says he's going to destroy the house. Before he goes out, Lori says,
Bitch.
"I'm going to destroy your house," and says he needs to get off the property like a whore. Michael kills Annie by smash that Annie got in her car. Afterwards, Michael kills her. Michael's head on a fire. Michael shot himself in the head, murdered by Michael's hand. Then Annie got a small piece of popcorn from under her nose and went to the kitchen to buy some. There are a few things that seem a bit contrived. Annie doesn't put the car in park to roll down the window for one thing. But also, why is Michael so willing to kill her? He's attacked her before, strangling her in her car in the parking lot. So she's just not that special. And yes, Annie is Annie Wilkes. If you're going to go to such extreme lengths to kill someone, it better be worth it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more of these, hit that like button and let me know what movies you'd like to see done in the future. And if you're new here, check out this other stuff and consider subscribing. And until next time, later, Danger Seekers.